So have you ever been frustrated by like a relationship that's not working out exactly like you want? It goes sideways. Well, go back to the 90s where I was a television producer in Chicago. And of course, as an out lesbian, I'm on a softball team, given. And one of my teammates takes me to a bar, introduces me to her friend Deb. Now, I did not have the reference point at that time, but Deb looks exactly like Rachel Maddow. Oh. In fact, she was at a Toronto airport one time, and someone came up and said, "Are you on American television?" So it's not just me. At any rate, we're dating. At the time, I guess I should reference it. At the time, Deb was actually the youngest head coach for NCAA Division I swimming. And after a couple weeks of dating, she takes me to her parents' house for Thanksgiving, and they really like me. In fact, her father, who was a dentist, says, "If you want to stay, we have extra toothbrushes." And I thought, "Deb, your dad just asked me to spend the night. That's weird." But she's the first girl who ever says that she loves me. And, she was everything that I wanted, and I confessed that to her. And I really wanted to work out. But did I mention that she looks like a really buff Rachel Maddow? And everybody in town knew it. She took advantage of that. She started sleeping around, and it just didn't work out. I went my way. She went hers. She moved up to Canada. But then, a few years later, I do meet the love of my life. We get married, and for 4,040 days, Wendy and I are together, except that she gets colon cancer, and she's a professor at Long Beach City College, and she says, "I don't want anyone to know, so you can't say anything to anyone." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, I'm your only caregiver, and stage 4 cancer, it's not a fun trip. Who do I talk to?" So I call up Deb, because I figure she's in Canada, and I can talk to her and her wife and her kids, and they're not going to tell anyone in Long Beach. But all this time, they're like, "What can we do for you? What can we do for you?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Until the day that Wendy dies, and then the mortuary calls me and says that I have to come and pick up the ashes. And I froze. I didn't know what to do. So I sat on the couch, I called Deb, and I said, "I can't do this. I don't know what to do." She says, "I'm going to call you back." And when she does, the girl who hates to fly says, "Here's the time I will meet you tomorrow at LAX," the very next day. So I go in and pick her up. We go to the mortuary. She takes care of everything. She stays a few more days, and she helps me clean out my storage unit. And during this time, one of my neighbors sees me, Veronica. And, we just kind of pass her a couple times, and Deb leaves, and I get a knock at the door a few days later. And I know that Veronica and her girlfriend have been fighting. I hear it through the walls for weeks, right? And I get a knock at the door, and she wants to know if she can buy me pizza. I'm like, "I'm not eating. I'm really depressed. I'm grieving, and all right, fine. A neighbor wants to be nice to me. Come on over." So she comes over, and we're sitting there, and we're talking, and I don't know what most of the conversation is about until she gets into details about how she and Megan, they've been fighting for weeks, and they're breaking up. And then she reaches over, and she gets another beer, and she puts it in front of me. And I thought, really? This is the time you're making your move? This sucks. But I could get it. I mean, my wife is dead. I'm hanging out with this hot woman. So clearly, right? So anyway, I cut her off at the knees. And I say, "You know what, Veronica? I don't know what's going on between you and Megan. And maybe there is a time when you're just going to break up. But I can tell you this. Maybe 30 years from now, when your wife dies, Megan will come and help you pick up the ashes, because that's just what happened for me." And then I realized that as much as you tell the universe, "This is what I want this relationship to be," and how much you yearn for it, my relationship with Deb turned into something else that I could never have imagined, and I am grateful to this day. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Chris.